All right, good evening. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This is our February 4th, 6 p.m. Town Council work session. And on our agenda, our first item is our roll call. So if we could have roll call, please.
Shannon.
Here.
Here.
Cavazos.
Here.
Canty.
Here.
Day. Edwards.
Here.
Here. All right. Our first item up is our McDonald's second drive-through lane. I think, Ms. Lockhart, if you want to bring us up to speed.
Yes. So in the packet, you will have the updated staff report as well as an updated site plan layout. In the site plan layout, they've gone ahead and arranged it so they will close the first entrance as recommended at our last council meeting where they were present, so December. And they're going to reroute the traffic so it goes in the second entrance and all the way around the building. The parking that's currently in the front of the building will be removed, so that's about 5 spaces and 2 handicaps. This will then allow the drive-through lane to come in closer to the restaurant there, the pre-existing drive-through lane, and then it gives more room for the second drive-through lane. So they will need to go back to the Planning Commission and seek their full site plan as well on this matter. So if it's met the council's concerns, I wanted to recommend that council give approval with a condition that they take everything back to the Planning Commission for a set of full site plan review.
Thoughts or comments on that?
No, I don't recall if it was Councilman Day or whoever it was that brought this up originally. That was, that changed my whole opinion of this whole thing, just that. I like the plan as I see it.
And they meet all the parking requirements now, and
Yeah, so if you look in a couple of the corners, what they've done, where they closed the first entrance, they're adding 4
Some spaces.
spaces there, and then they came back in on the side and added an additional one, so they will meet their parking requirements.
do they need approval from the shopping center or anything? No? I mean, that's a separate parcel, right?
Separate parcel.
That's up, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And they still meet their, what is it, 85%?
Yes, because on this one, what they're gonna do is they're gonna shift a little bit of the green space there, and so they're not really, sorry, it's right there. They're not really gonna lose much of any green space.
Love it.
Okay.
So if no objection, we're, okay.
So on the, toward the Washington Street, are they able to back out if, actually they are starting 2 lane from the, in the
Is there
end,
enough
right?
clearance? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean, Madhu?
yeah.
Yeah.
On the Washington Street side where the parking is?
Yeah,
So they demonstrated before that there would be enough clearance, and then that'll come back up again in the full site plan to make sure that all of those parking spaces have the full clearance to swing out and then go around. So it'll be something we look at further, but as of right now, they're saying they do have full
I
clearance.
think it helps that they're angled, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, angle, you
Yeah.
don't have to turn.
and then bringing that other drive-through lane in closer up to the restaurant will give them a little more room there.
Okay. Good.
So is this going to draft motion as written here, or
Yeah, I think,
as you mentioned, or?
For the regular meeting?
Do you want to do an hour for the regular?
right, for the regular meeting.
Yep. Yeah.
This lane, how many vehicles it will cover on, up to drive-through window from here to here?
Stacking?
It's stacking, yeah.
1 second. So all the way up to the drive-through window. That'll be 14 vehicles are shown on the map, and that doesn't include any that would queue in behind where the drive-through lanes extend.
Right.
So I think you're looking at probably a good 20, and then if they start stacking in the second lane, you'd get about 22, 24.
Do we know if, one quick question, if any of these spaces are designated, you know how you go through and now McDonald's is doing a thing where you order online and you drive to your space and they pick it up, or if your order's not ready at the drive-through, they tell you to pull into this.
So if you look in the site plan where they're stacked there on Leeberry,
Yeah?
the two that are striped on Leeberry, that little
Oh,
parking
got
row,
it. Those are the,
that's those. They did mention, of course, that while they are designated as that, there's nothing stopping anyone from
from parking.
Yeah.
Correct. yeah.
And they'll shift their two handicap parking spaces from the front where they originally are right now to the side of the building where you have that other entrance there.
Okay. So they increase toward the streets, there's a one parking, right? On the corner?
The
Yeah.
upper left corner?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? That will be an action item with the draft motion in our regular packet. Next up, our playground equipment proposal.
Yes, so I went back and I researched and tried to find a couple more proposals. Councilwoman Cavazos mentioned to reach out to Landscape Structures. I reached out to them, I have not heard back yet. I made a couple other phone calls. We looked into Sparks at Play, and then there was another company, Burke. When I was able to finally reach someone at Sparks at Play, they gave me, unfortunately, not what I wanted to hear. We talked about what I had already come up with and just the type of equipment, so I laid it out. I wanted a play set for 20 to 25 children, 2 swings, infant swing, and a couple rockers, all on wood carpeting. And they said they were unable to do this within the $40,000 budget, and that they were willing to sit down and talk with the budget and planning departments here at the town to budget for a $60,000 playground in the next fiscal year. So they weren't willing to even give a ballpark proposal or anything of that sort because they felt that their product wouldn't meet all of our budgetary needs. However, I did get back with the playground specialist who I had already gotten a proposal from. There's a couple notes there on page 7 of the packet. So the accessible swing, they're definitely able to do it. We just need to find the third-party swing, send everything over to them. They'll adjust the pricing and the labor, but they can install it and they can work with that in their warranty. The life expectancy, I misspoke last time. I said it was 10 to 15 years. It's actually 15 to 20 years as long as it's maintained properly. And then Evan, who I've been working with, is a certified inspector. And as part of the purchasing from them, they come out yearly and they do an inspection. And they also will talk and train the staff here to every few months just go look, are there any parts that shouldn't be moving? He said that'll really help us make sure it stays up and functioning and maintained. So I can keep looking out and researching additional playgrounds, but I am having a good bit of trouble getting some of them to respond. I don't know if it's just the time of year.
I'm surprised because I was getting an email from my contact there like every few months. So I'll reach out to him and
Okay.
see if he can
And I
contact
think
you.
they're the company, I called them, left a message, sent an email, and they were away on a conference in, I think, the West Coast. So I think they're waiting on getting back, but it's been a week or two.
Okay.
So,
I'll follow up with them
Okay.
just to see if somebody can contact you.
okay.
Okay. I think we found this like in our HOA when,
Yeah.
at the time. There's only a few out there. There's, to think that, to get an idea of getting a half dozen or 4 or 5 vendors, there's in this, and you would think in this area, as big as it is,
Right.
we would. But I know we ran with that same dilemma of trying to get at least 3 proposals or 2 proposals, you know, but yeah, so.
I have one, I guess it's a question, not really a concern. I know that we want to put handicap accessible items there. However, how are they going to access the playground with its location and the fact that
So the way that they've been designed in the past is that you have an asphalt pad that runs straight to such piece of equipment.
Right.
And so we would end up having to lay asphalt to that.
Just in that section over there by the drive or whatever.
Depending on how the layout was there within the park itself, however we wanted to make sure that we could easily access it. Obviously, I'm sure we'll have some sort of access already going from the parking lot to the playground, and then from the playground entrance, we would have an asphalt pad
Okay.
or concrete, or I'm sure probably asphalt or that soft rubber asphalt would probably be the best bet to run straight to the piece of equipment.
Maybe in the design, it's the closest to the actual
Path.
path to, okay. So that'll probably be an additional charge, right? Okay.
Okay, any further comments or thoughts?
Is it legal to reach out to a couple of these companies to see if they're willing to donate time to help out? I'm thinking of paving companies that may be willing to help out with the path itself or something like that. Is illegal to reach out to these folks and say, hey, could we sponsor, or would you be willing to help sponsor this?
Yeah,
And
a sponsorship.
No, I don't think anything illegal about it. They couldn't, if they're bidding on the project, you have to be careful to how you phrased it, so it wouldn't look like it was some type of incentive for them
Yeah.
to provide, that you get the project if you'll donate something, in
Yeah.
other words.
Okay, it's
Maybe
just
check
something
with-
running through my mind.
Maybe check
and-
with Martin how to go about that.
Yeah, because I've got some ideas there and some contacts and everything that folks may be willing, because it's such a great cause,
We have a
so-
lot of local paving companies here.
Exactly. And I think a couple in particular that already donate, help us out with signs,
Yeah.
Right.
and they're good folks. They're good folks, so just curious. Okay, thank you.
Okay, further questions or?
Like, it's Walmart give you $1,500 this year, right?
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can propose next year, manager can give you $8,500 per year. This is a real close by and community-based, maybe Walmart can sponsor some in there too.
At the playground.
Yeah.
And plus, as we saw with Dominion Energy, in a lot of their meetings, that on a smaller scale projects, we were looking for pavilion and stuff like that, but they had monies and help, actually labor force, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yes, and the other company that's reached out, Novak, wants to get involved with the community and do like volunteer days out here and do something, so I know they would be willing.
A lot of corporate
Yeah.
places in this area, they do days of service. I know
Mm-hmm.
BB&T does it. What was the other one that we had?
It's on the tip of my
I
tongue.
know. But they do, and they'll come out all day and do anything that you ask them to,
We have some
basically,
very generous businesses, big businesses.
Yeah.
in this
That do a
area.
lot, and I just think we ought to try to reach out to them at least and see if they're willing to do this as a sponsorship program.
Yeah.
I mean, the big shed or the gazebo or whatever up here, didn't someone reach out and say that they would help sponsor that?
Dominion Valley. or
Dominion,
Electric.
Dominion
Yeah.
Power or whatever?
Dominion
So I-
Energy is, yes.
Okay, well, just some ideas. that, might be able to reach out to some of these folks. I can give you some names too and stuff like that folks that may be interested in, who knows, we send them a letter and see if they're willing to sponsor some of this. Okay, thank you.
All right, our next item here is the Sherwood Forest Resolution. We're on page 20 of our packet here.
So this resolution is for the council to request that VDOT accept the streets in Sherwood Forest subdivision into the secondary system of state highways. So we've been working on this for a couple months now, and it looks like they're all good to go. They have gotten their bonds released and everything, so we're moving along. The site distance easement was granted, so everything is squared away. This is kind of the last little piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
If I could
course.
add some,
You want to add anything to that,
yes, sir.
Councilman?
There's a,
Yeah.
and everything's good. And the preliminary inspection is set for 20 February, 1000 hours, 10 a.m. And that's going to be with D.R. Harton representative, Jeff Beachy, I believe. It's going to be our permits office, a couple of different ones. It's going to be my maintenance folks and myself. We're going to do a walkthrough of the roads. There's some things that they're going to have to work off, but I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a real big issue. But, so that preliminary inspection is 20 February. So we should be hearing something. I mean, they'll have to work off punch list items, but I know they're anxious to get off bond too, so.
So are we supposed to wait and do this until they do their punch list?
No,
or-
I asked our permits manager this. We talked about this on Friday and actually, I'm sorry, this morning. And the one inspector that's actually doing the inspection, she said, no, this is pretty common throughout Prince William County. So the bottom line is until all the requirements are met, VDOT's not going to take it into the system.
Okay.
So it's common practice, so we're right where we should be on this.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Further thoughts, comments? All right, moving on to our new building official discussion. I'll let Councilman Leak head that. I think this is something we kind of kept going on this, and unfortunately you weren't available last meeting, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, after we had a town business come in and speak on how unsuccessful it was dealing with the planning office and the building official's office down with Prince William County, I just wanted to bring it back up. I know it's something that when we used to have it in town, it was a great service. It was a convenient service for all of our town residents and town businesses. And then due to the nature of the contract that we had with said business at that time, it was necessary for us to move everything over to the county. And it's been with the county for a little bit of time now. But I just wanted to see what this council's thoughts were on bringing it back into town and bringing a building official company and to handle these types of things. I know we do have some things that are great and positive, and we also have some things that have frustration. And I think a lot of the frustration is on the customer service side and the reasonability side with these building officials doing a I'm not going to be able to remember the term exactly, but pretty much a field amendment to different building things. Having to go back through and grab your architect to redraw everything, resubmit to the county, the amount of time that it takes for their wait time to get it back to you, and then all these things can be easily done in the field by the building official that is in the field with you. It's just I've heard from numerous building officials, businesses in town, not necessarily residents, but on the business side. Now, granted, I on the bright side of this, we have been able to go through and we get our monthly reports on how much improvements have been done to different buildings in town and homeowners' properties in town, and it's a great thing that this is now being tracked and being able to be provided, because before then it necessarily wasn't being done until a home was being sold, because as they're going through the sale process and things are not matching up with the tax record, real estate agents are raising red flags and saying, well, you're saying you have a finished basement, but on your tax record it doesn't say you have a finished basement. Did you even pull permits, or where are your permits? And so different things along those lines. But I just wanted to open it up, and it may be to the point to where folks are saying, no, I think it's great where it's at, but having Ashlon come in at what was it, 2 meetings ago, and share their concerns, I just wanted to open up for open discussion.
Good point. And just we'll start with Ashlon. So as we directed staff, they actually met with her. And either Jerry or Emily, if you could kind of share where maybe how that meeting went, where the concerns were, and where the,
Yeah, we did meet with her. I think the concerns, obviously, she was frustrated that she'd had some issues with the county. A lot of it had to do with ADA requirements for some of the work that she wanted to do. to transition from some of the space that she's occupying now to future space in the same building. I think, and Emily, chime in if I misspeak, but I think the problem was that she had retained the services of a residential designer to prepare the drawings, and frankly, the drawings were just lacking in terms of information that need to be included for the county to review and issue the permits. The other thing is, I think that she wasn't, I mean, she seemed like she's heading in a different direction now. I think once we explained it to her, that regardless if it's the county reviewing the project or the town's inspector, if the town's inspector is doing the type of job they should be doing, they're reviewing it under the same code, under the state uniform building code. And those same issues would have arisen if it were our in-house inspector in terms of the ADA compliance issues and some of the information needed on the drawings that just weren't there.
Probably the landlord, I think, too, because
Well, yeah, the landlord wasn't participating with, the landlord wasn't willing to do the work. The tenant was trying to do the work and apply for the permits, so.
I think the only other thing I would say, I did follow up with her last week as well in passing, and she mentioned that we gave her a couple recommendations of architects in the area that are very familiar with Prince William County building officials and have done the process time and time again. So she reached out and had really good success with that. So she is going to continue down that path, but I think she understands a little bit better now why the cost savings is there if we go to the county. So.
okay.
Yeah, just to mention also that, you know, a lot of the problem with bringing it back in-house at this stage, I mean, a lot of what we have coming online here is commercial development, the huge project here at the fairgrounds, also the project that hopefully across the street will come to fruition, and some other commercial projects. It's going to be very difficult to obtain a single building official that's going to have the expertise to perform those inspections for all those types of things. I mean, you have electrical and mechanical, you'll have fire flow, you have to involve the fire marshal's office with a lot of the commercial. And as Emily touched on, it's going to be very expensive to have a company on board to do that. And those costs are going to have to be passed on to the applicants, not only the larger developments, but also the individual single-family homeowners that come in for renovations and repairs. We're going to have to pass those costs. That was another reason that when we looked at the counties compared to the towns, I mean, I think a deck was costing, in terms of permits and inspections here in the town, like $300 and some, whereas like with the county, I think it's under around $100 for everything when you go down there and apply. And yes, it is inconvenient. I understand that. I mean, it's much more convenient to come here to the town office and meet with someone. But the quality of the inspection, some of the things that we're getting by, and again, we could get another firm and hold their heels to the fire. But I just don't think it's going to be feasible with the scope of development that we have coming on board to try to do it in-house.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I just think of the fairgrounds, if all of a sudden they at least have two pad sites developing, perhaps a hotel coming up, multiple things. Seem like we would need to have someone just sitting here in-house that would be constantly going through every one of those plans as they start coming through. Not to mention some of the new ones as well. Yeah. Other thoughts?
If it was cost neutral, I'd be for it 100%. I know the convenience of folks just coming here is great, and I understand that. But my main concern is budget-wise. I could see maybe in a couple of years, once our taxes increase and we have the other businesses, I would say, you know, we could cross that bridge at that time and look at it to see. But I know the last council, we had, I think it was a $54,000 deficit or it had cost us 54, and a lot of stuff fell through the crack, to include stuff in my home when we moved in here, and it was very frustrating. So my feeling is, although I think it would be a great service for some, I just don't think it would be cost effective until our taxes really increase here from the businesses.
My thought is just whatever we are doing for the county, just do with the county. It's cost-wise, it's really way expensive to having in-house inspector and building official.
Yeah, let me add to that, too. As we've found as well, that even with just recovering the things that we should be recovering, like the E&S and things that we are doing in-house right now, we're slowly getting in there to where, for example, Martin will charge for his attorney time for this, and you have Katie doing her engineer time for this, and just getting those costs recouped is slowly coming into play, you know. So I couldn't even imagine if we had, or we're tracking every building permit and everything. I don't even think our staff wouldn't be able to just keep up with that aspect of it without, you know, hiring one, even maybe two persons just to handle that. So those would be my thoughts, additional thoughts for that.
I would just, I mean, I've lived here 22 years, and it was very convenient. I will have to say that at the time, but it was mostly residential things that the building inspector did, and it was very slow with the commercial that came in. However, there were issues with having our own inspector, and my house, the mayor's house, I mean, there were big issues when Green Hill Crossing came in. And, I mean, we had to have our basements jackhammered up and new footers poured while we were living in the houses, so
They
they were
forgot,
huge.
yeah, they forgot to put the footer in.
You know, no big deal.
You know, and after a house is already under roof and actually occupied,
Yeah.
that
It
became,
was a huge issue.
problematic.
And I think we moved on from that, and we got reputable people that were retired from larger jurisdictions. But I just think with the scope of all the building and things that are going on, I just don't know how a small firm could keep up with that effectively. And I just would hate for something awful to happen. I mean, I just think, you know, Prince William's Train, they have it, and it is cheaper. So I would have to go with just sticking over there.
Thank you, Emily, and Jerry for meeting with Ashley, because I know that she was really concerned, and I'm sure now she feels lots better. And as far as having a building official, if we could afford it, I definitely think that that would be great in the future if we were able to hire someone who's qualified and able to do the same job as they do in Prince William County. But if we can't, it would be great if you two would be able to counsel local businesses if they came in and kind of walk them through the process and explain it, which I know you would totally be open to if they came. Maybe we could, I don't know, advertise on the website if they have questions that they can, you know, come in anytime, or, because I'm sure that that helped her, and it probably could help other businesses, because I'm sure some of them have never gone through the process before, so they're probably overwhelmed at where to start.
It's true. In your building department, as a rule of thumb, your building department should pay for itself. It should be a cost neutral to the taxpayer. And so what happens is when the costs are more than you're generating with your fees that you're receiving, then the general fund's making up the difference. So all of your taxpayers are paying the bill for those inspections, when it really should just be the individuals that are applying for the inspections.
any further thoughts? Councilman Leake?
No, sir?
Okay. All right, moving on. Our other item is our municipal parking lot.
So this is something that I brought up last council and when I was sitting on the planning commission, is that while we were looking at design standards for different buildings in town, we noticed that a lot of times that these buildings were not able to meet such design standards for parking regulations, for the mere fact that they did not have the size on the lot to do such. For example, Lane Motors, the Firehouse, those being the two main ones in town that we've recently dealt with. And me and Emily spoke about it recently, and she shared some of the same concerns that folks were coming in and stating that they weren't able to design the buildings necessarily on the sites and get the return that is necessary in regards to the height, because the regulations of the parking kept increasing as they went to a second or third story. And you have some sites in town that just because of the design standards aren't really able to be developed. And a lot of folks are passing up on those, and the two that keep coming up there being Lane Motors, Firehouse. So with that being said, it's always been a thought of mine to have a municipal parking center in town, and to go through that process, and it would be having to talk through it and see what would make most sense in regards to how to go about it. If you're doing metered parking, if you're doing a shared use parking and they're paying a foot fee to be able to get that shared parking agreement waiver for their site plan. Different things that would have to go about it. Maybe it's something that goes to the planning commission for their thoughts on, but I just wanted to see what the council's thought was on that. I know that we currently have someone who's interested in Lane Motors, according to Ms. Lockhart, but they're coming up to that parking issue, and it's how do we get around it. And obviously, we don't want to give a waiver for parking requirements, not necessarily unless the use is that of a lesser intensified use. But how do we go about in making sure that we have smart, positive development in town? So I just want to see what council's thought was on it. Obviously, it'd be an upfront cost to us to be able to purchase said property and be able to go ahead and pave that. But just a thought, so I just want to see what everyone's thought was on that.
Where would you put it?
So there's a couple sites in town. Obviously, for negotiating purposes, we wouldn't want to disclose such said sites, but there are some vacant lots in town that would be suitable in the downtown core area.
Are they currently green space, or are
They're
they?
currently undeveloped lots.
But is it grass or is it pavement right now?
It's grass.
Okay. That would be a concern for me, because I know that one of the things that I've heard a lot is that we're losing more and more green space, like with the fairground property. And if anything, I would think that we as a town would want to invest more into either preserving the green space, purchasing our buildings that we can save. I don't necessarily want to make more blacktop and spend that money that way.
What would be the difference if we were to develop it or if the property owner were to develop it?
I think if we're going to spend our money, that's where I would want to spend it,
Okay.
is preservation.
Makes sense.
And as we found also, Ms. Emily, that there's other things other than asphalt. As we were designing this out front, if I remember correct, it's not asphalt, it's like plugs of grass it's what, there's a name for it. So it's being able,
Impervious.
You have plenty of impervious paver options that actually, when you put them down, they act as a driveway or parking area, but green grass and vegetation is able to come up around them, so you're actually going to, I guess, you're not totally putting in asphalt, you're allowing rainwater and everything to soak down into the ground.
I think what I'm picturing is more of like a park area, like an open park, or just not parking in my mind. But that's just my opinion.
other thoughts?
I would love to see this town, that's one of the things we're missing. As an example, fairgrounds, as we call them now, that's where everybody parked for Haymarket days. And then just as we bring other businesses, just having somewhere to park. I certainly understand Bond's concerns. I guess a couple of places I'm thinking in particular, it's a matter of time before they probably get bought out and they build homes on there and stuff like that. But I like the idea of having a municipal parking area somewhere for our town. I think that would be a big plus if the deal's right and it's the right location.
I would agree. I mean, of course, I love green space, but the odds that they're gonna keep it like that are slim to none. You know, Culpeper, Warrenton, they all have, not necessarily on the main street, but off on the sides, they have municipal parking. And I think, you know, if we want the downtown area to develop and to progress, we're gonna have to figure something out. Somehow, we're gonna have to figure it out. So, of course, the only question is the money. I think that tree's not blooming out back yet, so.
Well, the nice part would be that if it's an undeveloped lot versus
Oh,
something.
correct.
Yeah, so being able to look at the different areas and options. You know, there was often concern about this government center and being able to, you know, what was it? The Kennedy project, let's refer to it, you know, where they were actually moving the buildings and developing a new town hall and being able to repurpose. I mean, we really should not be in the real estate business with all the different properties that we own. Park, obviously, fine, a government center, fine, but as we look around the lot here, as we deal with the maintenance issues and that will only increase in time, and for budgeting and purposes of how do you keep up with that? So, I mean, it's probably another thought for another day as far as, but at least the door's open now with maybe looking at different options, and maybe it'd take a work session to figure this out, you know, to see where we can go from here. Thoughts on that, Madhu? Yep.
What's the feasibility? How many parking lot, parking space we are talking about? Where's the, I don't think we have.
Yeah, so that would obviously depend on the size of the lot, and the lot would, if it was something to where we were even okay with tossing around the idea, I think the next thing that we would go through is finding said lots, doing measurements on them, figuring out what we would be able to park in there. Think about doing a CMA in regards to what we think the cost we could get it at, see what the feasibility is, and then the big thing about it is how do we recuperate that cost? Are we doing meter parking? Are we doing a toll booth parking where folks are coming in, they're grabbing a ticket? If they're utilizing said business that has a shared parking agreement with us, they're getting a validation and getting their first hour or two free. Are we charging a foot fee for a shared parking agreement when they have to go through their site plan phase? There's a lot of things that are out there that need to be explored and researched, but before spending the hours on it, I just wanted to see what everyone's thought was in it, to see if it was even worth the time to start thinking about.
Well, I would first to go to say, I think it's worth the time. I think any good project starts with a vision, you know, and to have a vision for it, and then to see how feasible it is, and maybe there's something that we can trade for it with, that we do have all this property, or the properties that we do have, you know.
Those are the only historic properties that are currently being saved,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I was talking about the town-owned, yeah. But, yeah, for maybe reselling and, so, okay. So maybe we could maybe schedule, I'd say, a work session for this, maybe just where we just deal with this thought. As we,
Before scheduling that, let me see how much time it's going to take to actually get you the things. I don't want to say let's schedule a work session for 30 days and then take me
Right.
60 or 90. So
okay,
I'll get back to you in regards to how feasible it is, and starting to get that research done, and then we'll go ahead about scheduling.
Yeah, because one of
Fair
the
enough.
things of the admin cost, in which I know you'll take a look at, I mean, if it's metered parking, somebody's got to control it. So there's going
Police
to be
department.
admin costs no matter how we go about it. Yeah, the chief doesn't, never mind.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for permit officer,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, great. Any further thoughts or anything like that? Great. Looks like we're going right on time. So this is our work session, so we're going to go ahead and have a motion to adjourn from that. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll take up our regular town council meeting. This work session, we brought in some of the ideas of visions and projects that we were looking at. So if you come in and looked at, we're already started, it's only for this work session that we are now televising and doing from the dais here. So I'll take that motion
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Second motion.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all. We'll re-adjourn at 7 o'clock.